We are talking about things you shouldn't give your pets.
I'll start with a drug.
Yeah.
Acetaminophen. That's
That is-
paracetamol. I've seen a case where the dog was giving 500
Wow.
milligrams.
That's 4,000 milligrams.
Yes, the patient actually died. As you said, what is good for you is not necessarily good for your pet.
But what do you have to say about dogs and toffees?
We advise that you actually avoid it if you can.
So today we are talking about things you shouldn't give your pets. And I know there are a lot of things to talk about, but we are limiting ourselves to some of the important things we find in our environment today. You know, for some of us who have money, we want to show off. For some too, because we don't have money, we want to be conservative. In as much as we are doing that, at both extremes, we tend to give our pets certain things we are not supposed to give them, because sometimes we do not know. So today we are actually going to address those things. Let's start off with some of the things we shouldn't give our pets. Dr. Abugri,
Yes.
can you take us through the first of them?
I'll start with a drug.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
the number one culprit is acetaminophen. That's
That is-
paracetamol.
Okay.
So when sometimes people see that their pet is sick, you know, whether any sickness, if they see any sign of disease, they give the dog paracetamol. And then sometimes they use the 500 milligrams one, not even the 250. I've seen a case where the dog was giving 500
Wow.
milligrams.
That's 4,000 milligrams.
Yes, the patient actually died.
Well, definitely.
Yes. So the reason why we don't give them is that, you see, we think that not every drug that is made for humans that can be used for animals.
Even though some of them are tested in animals.
We cannot
But
just use them.
even the animals that they are tested on are different.
Yes.
Yeah. So
So
we need to take note of that.
For paracetamol, its byproducts cannot be actually be metabolized in the liver of dogs and cats. So for human beings, we can metabolize it. What I mean is that we can get rid of its byproduct from our system. But for dogs and cats, they can't do that. So if you give them paracetamol, it becomes poisonous to their liver and you damage their liver. So it's a no-go area. Don't ever try it. If you give your dog paracetamol, once again, you're giving him a free ticket to meet his creator. So don't try it. I think that's for the dog. That's a common one I have seen in my practice.
Some
So,
too do give antibiotics.
antibiotics. Yes, they just
Anyway,
try their hands.
they just want to try their hands. I remember this guy came in. The correct drug for treatment was, I think, clindamycin, but so he gave doxycycline because he said that antibiotics is used to treat
Okay.
dog disease. So
Sure.
anyway, but that's a story for another day. So before we even move on, let me go in and say that, like human beings, every drug we take is metabolized by the liver. That means the liver works on it, and most of them are excreted by the kidneys. So even if it is food or drugs, working on it, your stomach does whatever it does, it is absorbed, it goes through your blood vessels, the pumps in the body, and then they end up in the liver to be worked on, further worked on, at least the ones that need to be worked on. So metabolized by the liver, excreted by the kidneys. So if the body can't deal with it, it means you are destroying these two organs. That is why we are told not to self-medicate.
Yeah.
Because whether we like it or not, every drug we take
Has a side effect.
has its own side effects, which most often doctors, we don't have time to explain because of the overwhelming waiting area numbers.
And the patient to doctor ratio.
Patient to doctor ratio. Well, unfortunately for us, sometimes in veterinary medicine, we're able to, because sometimes the waiting area is a little bit better. but other times you don't have the time. Yeah. So it's either you ask or you don't take the medication at all. Yeah. So we've talked about paracetamol. Now let's talk about another thing. Valentine's Day. Val's Day was 2 days
2 days
ago.
ago.
Yeah. I know some people out of exuberance, showing love, decided to give their dogs chocolate, their cats chocolate,
Chocolate.
or cocoa containing products. What do you have to say about those ones too?
That one too is a no go area. As you said, what is good for you is not necessarily good for your pet. So for cats and dogs specifically, the active ingredient, there's one active ingredient in cocoa. Is it
Theobromine.
theobromine? Yes, it actually cannot be metabolized by the liver of cats and dogs. So if you give them chocolate, it might be a sign of affection, but it's actually an unintended poisoning. So they will undergo a lot of sometimes seizures and those things, and then if you're not careful, you lose your pet. So please don't celebrate your Valentine's Day with your dog with a chocolate. Give him something, but not chocolate.
Some nice treat instead of
Yeah.
chocolate. Yeah, that would be cool.
Or even chocolate cake.
Yeah, chocolate
Yes,
cake.
don't
Yeah,
don't do that.
We've talked about paracetamol. We've talked about chocolate. Let me add that you shouldn't be giving your dogs food containing spices, onions, and garlic.
Yeah.
I think we mentioned it in an earlier episode.
Yeah.
Or
Yes, we
yeah,
did. Yeah.
we mentioned it in an earlier episode. The reason you shouldn't do that is this. The red cells in the body, the cells that carry oxygen to other parts of the body, when they come into contact with the elements containing onion, garlic, spices, what they do is they become abnormally shaped. And when it happens like that, the body sees it as abnormal cells and destroys them. So imagine you are destroying more of the red cells. You end up causing anemia, meaning the body doesn't have enough red cells to send oxygen to other parts of the body. So it's not good to be giving them foods containing onions and garlic. And so I know some houses, this is how they prepare their food. They actually prepare their regular food, all right, but when they boil certain things, after that they add their onion. So instead of adding the onion and garlic, normally, in a Ghanaian home, the base of the meat, the stock, they prepare that separately, and then they do the final one. After they add, when they take the ones for their pets, then they add
it.
Yeah. And I think it's a very good practice,
it's a very good practice.
to help safeguard your pets against some of these things. There are some people who, for whatever reason, like toffees.
Yes.
However, because of their love for their pets and they wanting their pets to also enjoy some of the things
They enjoy.
they decide to give some of them some of these toffees.
Yes.
I remember during housemanship, we had a case with a dazed dog. The dog was fine.
Was high.
Raskatavanda.
Cloud 9.
Cloud 9. So there are some dogs, there are some pet owners. Probably was accidental. The dog just picked it and ate it.
How do you accidentally get meat?
Well, no, it fell down. The owner didn't know. So the dog was in cloud 9. But what do you have to say about dogs and toffees?
Yeah, so we advise that you actually avoid it if you can, because some of the sweetness used in these toffees contains a chemical called xylitol, which when given to the pets can cause hypoglycemia, meaning that it will cause a drop in the energy level. That's basically the energy level of the dog. So if you're not careful, then you go into a form of shock, and then if medical treatment is not given, you lose your pet. So for cats and dog, just avoid giving them toffees. Yes.
As much as possible, get it out of the environment.
Yes.
Yeah. for those of us who have money, yesterday, no, 2 days ago, I was in a vehicle back home and the Trusky driver decided to buy grapes. Now, it was just small package. I think they were 6. He bought it for 20 cedis.
Yeah, very
But
expensive.
some people decide to give their dogs grapes.
Grapes.
What do you have to say about grapes and their kidneys?
More problem.
Yeah.
So it's the same thing. The grapes also contains the chemicals that are not also good for the kidneys of dogs and cats. It's poisoning basically. So as we mentioned, chocolate all the way to, if you give them grapes, their bodies cannot deal with these I'll call it byproducts of these um, products. So it can go and damage the kidneys of the dog or cat. Mostly these two species are most affected, cats and dogs. So
Because that's what we have predominantly as pets in the
pets in
country.
Ghana, very few. I've not seen anybody who has bought a snake so far as a pet.
Yeah, well,
I've not seen that one yet.
we have a stereotypic.
But people actually fear snakes. So I've
Yeah.
seen birds, I've seen a lot, but tortoises and those things. But
Yeah.
I've not seen. I've seen those who keep snakes, but not necessarily as pet species. But
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. So these are things you shouldn't give your pets. Avocado. What do you think about avocado? What we call pet? Because it's one of the things, sometimes you get some nice wache. You eat, there are some leftovers. Wache. Sometimes if you add some pet to it, it's a whole brand on its own. Yeah. So what do you have to say about that?
again, we don't give avocado to your pets, cats and dogs specifically. It also contains certain chemicals that are not good for the kidneys of your pets. So I will say again that now you live in an information age, right? ChatGPT, Google is around. If you want to give anything, just Google it. Find out whether what you're giving, whether it's safe for your pet before you do it. So just to be safe. Yeah.
So are you saying that just Google it so they shouldn't talk to their vets because because Charlie, sometimes some of the things you see on Google,
Yes, Dr. Google.
Dr. Google,
Yes, I think I'll clarify that.
yeah,
Consult your vet to know that. Even though what you find on Google might, I think some people write their own Reddit account, Wikipedia, all those things. So
yeah,
certain things might find online may look true, but it might not apply to your situation.
Your
So
situation.
sometimes you need a professional
Yeah.
advice. So
like
yes.
my book on why advice doesn't work. Well, if you need it, you can shoot me a chat, or you can send a message in the comment section, and we'll get to you. It's like reading about signs and symptoms and treatment, and you're asking your doctor to give you a prescription for something your dog doesn't have just because you've seen a
I've
sign.
seen it.
Yeah, so in as much as we are advocating that we find information for ourselves, let's also consult the professionals that we have. When in doubt, you shouldn't swallow everything on the internet as the gospel, because you never know. Because in the end, if something happens, you come and see the professionals, and you don't want to be an irresponsible owner. Normally sometimes we do catch them, but you can't out it.
You can't point. You can't say
out
that.
it just like
You have
that.
been caught. Some lies are always easily like
Yeah.
it started 3 days ago or 2 days ago.
So this is Dr. Emmanuel Boachinim once again, and I did this episode with my brother and co-host
Dr. Henry Asigri Abudri.
Until we see you next time, have a good day, week, month, and enjoy all the serotonin your pets can give you, whilst you don't give them what we just talked to you about. See you.